morning and welcome to Ryde. I'm on my way to Ryde Harbour. I've spent the last couple of sunsets at Ryde Harbour and I will put some of those pictures that I've taken from here on. There's quite a stiff breeze blowing, the flag's there along the front fluttering in it, and the pirate flags at the little theme park also fluttering there along with the palm tree. Reflections on the harbour there, which is open again, and people are dining and drinking outside in the evenings and in the afternoons, maybe even in the mornings, so that's really nice. Okay, so not long till sunrise now. So I've just entered this little garden here, which is a memorial garden to HMS Royal George, and you can come and sit and contemplate, and it's got some information here about the ship. You see there's a big sort of board here with the story of what happened. And it's a very, very tragic story, which I will tell you. And look, you got some interesting. As you can see the map here with the sun's reflection. But the St George went down sort of closer to Ryde really than to Portsmouth, and so the bodies kind of washed up along Ryde Sands mainly. The Mary Rose, which I want to do a video about, not so much about the Mary Rose, but about the Battle of 1545 and the French invasion of places like Seaview here on the Isle of Wight. I want to talk a little bit about that on another video. And Invincible, another shipwreck here, which I'll talk about sometime, 1758. So quite a nice map of the area, Portsmouth Harbour there, Gosport there. Okay, so just read a little bit from this board. It says, the Royal George, launched in 1756, was one of the finest ships that ever sailed. At 200 feet long, 50 feet wide, weighing 3,745 tons and carrying 100 cannon, the quarterdeck rose 32 feet above the waves, and a 3-mast extended to 100 feet in height. At the outbreak of the Seven Years' War against France and Austria, she became the flagship of the Channel Fleet, carrying Admiral Sir Edwin Boscawen's flag on blockade duty with the Western Squadron. In 1759, the Royal George, under the flag of Sir Edward Hawke, achieved distinction in the Battle of Quiberon Bay, where the French fleet was defeated. Following further action, she entered Portsmouth for maintenance. By the time this work was completed, the war was over. The planned return to the Western Squadron was not forthcoming. In 1763, she was laid up in Plymouth for 15 years, manned by her standing officers and where dockyard workers were supposed to ensure good order. Renewed hostilities with France in 1778, including a failed French plan to capture the Isle of Wight, led to the Royal George returning to service with the Western Squadron. However, she was found to be in poor condition and required further repair. In 1781, while on escort duty to a British convoy in Gibraltar, she was able to regain her prowess when she took part in the capture of 2 Spanish convoys. Following this period of action, the Royal George again returned to Portsmouth for another major overhaul. In August 1782, the Royal George sailed to join the fleet gathered at Spithead to relieve Gibraltar from the blockading Spanish forces. She was now the flagship of Rear Admiral Kempenfeldt and under the command of Captain Waghorn. On arrival at Portsmouth, Waghorn ordered a minor repair to a submerged watercock. There was no time to allow for dry dock, and the captain decided to heel the ship over by 7 degrees to allow the job to be completed. The normal procedure would be to attach ropes to the mast pulling the ships over from another vessel. This would allow safe release of the ship in an emergency by cutting the rope. However, Waghorn elected to use the alternative method, moving all the cannon from one side beyond the centre line of the ship, thus causing her to heel over. When work began, there were 820 crew and a further 400 visitors made up of friends, family and tradespeople on board ship, in addition to 548 tons of stores and 83 tons of ammunition needed for the expedition. Work proceeded until the carpenter returned to the deck to report water entering the gun ports and to request an order to right ship. The officer on watch, Lieutenant Hollingbury, dismissed his appeal and he was forced to seek out Captain Waghorn, who gave the order to reposition the cannon some 20 minutes after she had begun to sink. It was too late. Water rapidly entered the ship and she capsized and sank in the middle of the Navy's main Solent anchorage on the 29th of August 1782. Only 255 of the 1,220 on board survived. Among those who perished were the carpenter, many of the visiting women and children, and Rear Admiral Richard Kempenfeldt. The subsequent court-martial cleared Kempenfeldt and Waghorn and chose to blame the collapse of the ship's hull through rot and neglect by the Dockyard Authority and Naval Board, a view supported only by 2 witnesses at the time. Right. Bodies of many of the men, women and children were washed ashore at Ryde and are buried in the foreshore where you now stand, and are commemorated by the 1964 Earl Mountbatten Memorial Plaque located in this garden. This is a poem about the loss of the Royal George. Toll for the brave that are no more, all sunk beneath the wave, fast by their native shore. 800 of the brave, whose courage well was tried, had made the vessel heel and laid her on her side. A land breeze shook the shrouds, and she was overset. Down went the Royal George, with all her crew complete. Toll for the brave Kempenfeldt was gone. His last sea fight was fought, his work of glory done. It was not in the battle, no tempest gave the shock. She sprang no fatal leak, she ran upon no rock. His sword was in its sheath, his fingers held the pen, when Kempenfeldt went down with twice 400 men. Wave the vessel up, once dreaded by our foes, and mingle with our cup the tear that England owes. Her timbers yet are sound, and she may float again, full charged with England's thunder, and plough the distant main. But Kempenfeldt is gone, his victories are o'er, and he and his 800 shall plough the wave no more. So I've just come to the beach where all along where the bodies, many of the bodies, the hundreds and hundreds that died, were washed ashore and are now buried in the gardens where I was telling you the story of the Royal George just now. And now I'd like to tell you something about some of the women on board the ship. There were mothers, there were wives, there were also children. I think I read that only one child survived the sinking. Anyway, there are also lots of women who were not mothers and not wives. I think a couple of hundred maybe of ladies of the night who were visiting the ship's men, I guess before heading out to battle. So that was quite interesting. So trades and professions of all sorts were on the boat when she went down, including the oldest profession of all. (1782), great loss of life, one of the UK's biggest maritime disasters. And on that note, as I walk back along the beach here where the bodies washed ashore, I'd like to say thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the next one.